It's all about methane. So methane is what you use to cook with, heat your house, heat your water. Some people run your dryer on it. And most of our methane comes from the Appalachian coal bed or the Marcellus shale up towards Pennsylvania, et cetera, right now, sort of fracked gas. This gives us an opportunity to use renewable gas instead of stuff that comes out of the ground. So according to the United Nations Environmental Council, methane is a gas that has a 100-year global warming potential that's 28 to 34 times that of CO2. But when you back that up to a 20-year period, it's actually 84 to 86 times more potent at capturing greenhouse energy. So it's really bad for the planet once it gets out and it gets into the environment. It's way worse than carbon dioxide. 60% of methane emissions are caused by human activities. So 60% of it, in theory, could be avoided. And I have some stats, if anybody cares, on where that comes from on the global scale. But I would say that on the Virginia scale, DEQ looked at this back in 2017 as part of a work group they put together to try and control Virginia methane emissions. And DEQ said that in Virginia, 49% of our methane emissions come from coal mines, 38% from landfills, and the rest from other various sources, although they didn't really look at livestock or biomass burning, some of the other things the UN looked at, which obviously create methane. You know, I'm sure everybody's heard about, cows burping, although people say farting, it's really burping, and other things. But in November, President Biden signed an international pledge to reduce American methane emissions by 30%. And he directed EPA to do the same thing. And so EPA is currently working on regulations which are coming down the pipe, which will be binding on us in Virginia eventually to reduce methane emissions. This gives us a chance to get ahead of the curve. So basically what the bill does is it creates a system where our natural gas companies can basically reduce their methane emissions in what are effectively about three ways. One is by instead of using gas, just regular old gas, they can use certified low emission gas, which is gas where a third-party NGO has sort of looked at the supply chain to create the gas and independently certifies that it was created using low emissions methods as opposed to what goes on traditionally right now, number one. Number two, they can use biogas. And then number three, they can use enhanced leak detection to reduce leaks in their own system on our existing lines and compressor stations. So in terms of the bill itself, if you look at the actual text of the bill, lines 15 through 23 basically has a broad policy statement that sort of gives the SEC guidance on where the legislature is looking for. Lines 25 through 27 on page 2 define biogas, which is what is in your committee's jurisdiction, I think. And it basically says this is gas that's created through anaerobic digestion or thermal conversion of organic matter, which is basically like taking gas out of a landfill or using methane generated by a composting system. You all passed another bill that I carried last week to encourage that. So you can basically take either food waste or animal waste, throw it in a big tank, heat it up, and methane comes out. You take that and put it in a pipe. So that's happening a lot more in Maryland, a lot in New England. And actually there's biogas already planned here in Virginia.
Let me break. So basically, is the gist of your bill that methane naturally arising in our agricultural community, whatever, can be captured and then put into the pipe and then used?
That's what biogas is.
Right.
The low emission natural gas is different. That's gas that is, I think, produced mostly using traditional methods, but done in a low intensity methane generation type way so that a third party certifies that.
Can you explain your bill in one sentence?
This basically makes the natural gas industry renewable. It's like the Clean Energy Act, but for the gas companies who are left out.
Okay, so it's just naturally occurring out of methane.
It takes methane out of that would otherwise be in the atmosphere. Fugitive methane, put it in a pipe so we can use it and burn it in our house.
As a commodity. Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, and then the end of the bill has to do with the rate recovery piece, which is the part Commerce and Labor is going to have to deal with.
We're not going to worry about that.